Hey, this is Ben. I'm going to walk you through how to set up the equipment. I recommend you watch this video a couple of times, not because I'm self-absorbed, but it'll get you familiar with the equipment and how to set it up. So here we go. First thing that you're going to do is open up and get this box exposed, and here are the different components. The first thing that you do after you open the box is to put out the side table. The side table just simply has some latches. I don't know if I can even show these to you. There you go. Has latches that fold down, and then these pop out to support them, and then this just sits on the side of the box. Okay, so you've got it off to the right or the left, it doesn't matter. I've got it off to the right. I set the laptop on, and then I run the plug in. I ran it through the front, but you run it through the back, it doesn't matter, and I plug it into one of these channels that you'll be able to see from the back. I also then plug in the USB cable. So now let's walk around to the back and walk you through it. So we're now on the back of the device, and you can see that channels 1 and 2 have power cables plugged in, leaving 3 through 8 available for lighting, which is kind of nice. Now we've got it plugged into the USB for the new mark, and then we've got the output channels, output 1 and 2, go to 3 and 4 on the Rane mixer respectively, with channel 1 coming in to be an extra for like an iPod or whatever that is, and you'll find that cable here dangling. There she is, just dangling there, and you can see it's just a little plug for like your phone or whatever you want to plug in for background or whatever music. What I like to do is have like an iPad or an iPod or something with songs preloaded to go in case I have an epic failure, then I'm still playing some music. Underneath it, you also see the microphone is plugged in right there. Okay, and that's your mic. So if you have everything plugged into this device, which it's going to come plugged in, the only thing you plug in is the USB at this point, that means you need your outputs. And your main outputs right there, right and left, are XLR. Now those sometimes come loose, so that's the first thing that you're going to stick in, okay? Or make sure that they're in there firmly. Then you're going to run down the length of these cables, and you see I've got them connected to another set. The other set is what comes out of this box. So this is your amp box, and you can see in there that it goes into the input, and then you've got two output, a high and a low. This is configured in the two-way stereo setup. Okay, so you've got two channels. The high is the upper amplifier, the QSC, and the low is the crown. The QSC is rated at about 430 watts a channel, and the crown is 600 watts. And interestingly enough, your subwoofer is rated at about 600 watts, and your JBLs are rated at 400 watts. So you should be good between the two. If you notice the cabling that goes in the back, you've got yellow for the bottom, blue for the top. It's respective. On the back of these, yellow on the bottom, blue on the top, okay? If you look at the cables that you plug in, they have a nub on them. See the nub? That's your ground. Make sure the nub always goes to the black. You do that. If you do that incorrectly, it'll sound like you've got the ocean. When you walk between the speakers, it'll have this kind of ocean sound to you. Okay, so after you're plugged in there, you should then be able to come up to the front of this and turn it on. You'll need two power cables. One power cable is for the bass bin. The other power cable is for the box, right? It makes sense. One plugs in one spot, one or the other, because if you have really bright lights that you're running off of this power strip, that may take too much juice and blow your breaker at your site. We haven't blown a breaker for years, though. All right, so you've got it plugged in. You've got your laptops plugged into your mixer. Your mixer's plugged into your Rane. The Rane mixer is good and it shows lights, but you have no sound. You always start from the point of sound when you're troubleshooting, right? You don't start from the speakers. You start from where the sound is coming from, and you check each connection to make sure it hasn't gotten loose as you work your way through. Let me show you something else on this mixer just so you're familiar with it. Okay, so this connects to the USB, which connects to this, and these lights should be glowing, and then when you push play on this, that should be playing there as well. Let me go into the settings real quick on this guy so you know what settings. Under your config, see how it says sound card new mark? Output is external mixer, deck 1, channel 1 and 2, deck 2, channel 3 and 4. That's the configuration that you need to have. Now you can go into your mappers and you can change what the buttons do on this here. So if you've got some preferences and you want to learn to do some other things, that's great, but I don't really mess with it. So when you push play on this, that should play as well, okay? So if we know that that's set up correctly and this is set up correctly, and we haven't plugged in. Now this is the other thing you can do if you can't get that working, but you know the sound is working, is you can take your backup and plug that straight into the laptop, right? I mean, this is the oh crap, we need help backup line, which comes here into line 1, right? There's your line 1. It's the white one, the oh crap. Oh yeah, so this is your microphone line. You got to turn it on. Oh, we're on. Woohoo! Okay, so you engage mic. Once you push that button and that light's flashing, whoa, we're on. Oh boy. Okay, there's your mic volume, and you don't have an auxiliary mic, but you do have a little EQ. I'm gonna set that all to neutral. You do have an EQ that goes with the microphone, which is nice. Okay, so we're coming from the mix track. We've got sound there. We push play, which means you should see lights. Why does it always start? We gotta get a song that doesn't have. All right, hang on. My amps are way too loud. Let's turn these off. All right, so we've just plugged it in. We push play, and we can see lights here, but we hear nothing, right? So this is telling you that the mixer is getting sound, but it's not making it to the speakers. Now the other thing you can use is this headset. You've got a headphone here that allows you to listen to the cue or the program or both. Remember this? And you've got a right or left or a mono button there. To engage the cue, you have to push the cue button for the assigned track. So this side of the board is the 3. This side of the board is the 4, or I guess it's 2 and 3 respectively. I mean, it's line 4 and line 3, but it's channel 2 and channel 3 because channel 1 is that, oh crap, stick it in and let's get some sound through this. So you see I've got sound. It's playing through this. The sound is working. And oh, you do have a little EQ. I don't know if I pointed that out up there, but you do have an equalizer on there. So now we've got sound. The next step is to come down here. Gosh, I'm wordy. I'm really going to make a shorter video for you, but that's all right. You'll get over it. Okay. Is this fun? I hope it's fun for you. So here we've got our limiter. Oh, you can see it's actually working right now. See that light flashing? That's saying that the signal coming into the limiter is too strong. Now you can adjust it here. As I back it off, the lights turn off. As I turn it on, you see how they all start flashing? The limiter stops the sound from making it through this device into your amps. So it protects your amplifiers from stupid people who come and crank up the volume on your other thing. So regardless of how loud they crank it, if you have the limiter set correctly, which you do in the beginning, you go and you turn on all your music, you turn it up to the right volume, and then you play with this knob until it limits it correctly, right? And you'll hear it. Here, I can show you. See how I got? I don't know. You hear how it got softer? The moment I engaged the limiter and that light started flashing, it gets softer. That's because I'm essentially making a ceiling with this knob that's saying any signal going in louder than this, cut it. So that way it protects your speakers. That and your amplifier. That's a good thing. This is a good thing to have, but this is also another problem point because if you've got your limiter on, it doesn't matter how much volume you crank up, it's not going to go past this guy, right? You can turn it off there. Don't recommend turning it off. Okay, so once you come in here, there's a couple other things I want to point out. It is a right and it's a 2-channel crossover. You have a low frequency here Gosh, I hope you can see what I'm pointing out. You have a low frequency here, and the same buttons over here, right? And what that does is it crosses over from your bass bins up to your high speakers. So right now I've got the crossover set at 120, 100 hertz. That means that anything below 100 hertz goes through the subwoofers. Anything above 100 hertz goes through your highs. That's a good thing as well. But if you've got this turned all the way down, or somebody's messed with these knobs and turned that one all the way down, your subwoofers aren't going to get any sound coming out. Let's turn those on. And it'll just be like mud. So you're going to want to come in and make that adjustment on this up to 100 hertz. 100 hertz is about where we like them both set. But you also have all these other knobs that are gains and like a bass delay. You need all your gains set at 0. You need all these buttons off. I would take the time to research this. This is a Super X Pro from Beringer. It's a crossover and a limiter. Now you've got 2 amplifiers. The top, as I showed you earlier, is for your highs. The bottom is for your basses. When you plug in your speakers, it's the last thing I'll show you. So you've gone through troubleshooting. You've ran it all the way to here. If you see lights on the limiter, when you're turning up on there, you know you made it to the limiter. And then you go from the limiter into the amps down there. And then you run the amps back here. Oh gosh. Oh, so you've got high, your blues go up high, your greens come down low. On the bass bin, it doesn't matter the port you put it in. The top one, it doesn't matter the port. It does matter the port. You got to put it in on the left one, on the JBLs. It's the only one that it'll go in. Okay. Now just rebuilt these cables. These cables are good to go. You shouldn't have any issues with the cables. One thing I'll note is we always tie the excess off onto the lower bass bin so that the cables don't have stress on the different points. Okay, so you got this set up. You were able to trace the sound from the start. You always start from the start, and then you work your way back through the different signals. And each of the way, you should have lights that indicate. Never start on full volume with your basses and your amps. You always start on the lowest volume setting and bring it up once you get the sound. The other thing I want to point out is you notice I've got the amp on the floor. The reason you floor load this is this box weighs about 100 pounds. It feels like 100. It probably only weighs like 70, but it's a heavy box. And if you're working on a flimsy table, you're going to leave divots or dents in that table if you don't put something underneath the feet, right? And so I like to put it where it can't be kicked, but on the floor. Because then the other thing is once you set these levels on that, you're not worried about, you're just not worried about like your sound levels being too high, right? I know I pointed this out, but this strip was put in so that you could have control over the lights. You'll need to bring power extension. You'll need extension cables, one for this box, one for this box to bring with you. I think I'm going to throw one in, but that leaves you one short. It'll be pretty obvious how to hook those up. And yeah, go and have a lot of fun dancing. That's what Dad wanted, right? Go have a good time. Thanks, Ben. Love you.